Hello, I'm neurodiversity, father to two neurodivergent kids. And if you'd like to know a bit more about what that means, you can check out my socials there where I've been blogging my personal journey along the way. But for now, we're on Divergent Reactions, a channel where we're going to try and do the reaction genre, but a little bit differently over time. At the moment, I'm learning, but we're going to talk into music, comedy, sports, you name it, from all over the world. And if that sounds like your kind of thing, don't forget to press like, subscribe, and the notification bell before we get stuck in. Now, this video is a little bit different to what I have been reacting to. Normally, I react to music on this channel at the moment. Done a couple of bits of comedy as well. But this one is a bit more of a serious undertone. I just wanted to try something a bit different. And it makes perfect sense that it's something I can relate to. So, in a past life, many years ago, I used to work in retail for several years, and I've been a retail manager in some of the biggest stores in the country in their sector. So, I know all about workers' rights and employment rights, certainly 2 years ago onwards. But this is British workers' rights versus American workers' rights. Now, I don't know much about the American work system. There's only one thing I know is that holiday pay is, I think, is I don't even know if you get holiday pay. Okay, I don't even know then. That's the only thing I'm kind of got a rough idea about. So I'm gonna get stuck into this. This is a video from, I believe it's Evan Edinger, is it? Is that his name?
Growing up in the States, I had to show up to work regardless.
Just randomly start the video without you seeing it. Here we go. Yes, this chap. So Evan Edinger, that's his name. So I'm going to watch this video and just take it all in and break it down as we go, and just you'll see my reaction to it. I don't know what to expect. I know that, like I say, that American culture is very different to British culture when it comes to work. So
Regardless of
let's
how
have a look.
sick I was. I mean, unless I was absolutely dying, and even then I had to call around to find replacements, which is why I'm not really surprised about this recent CNN report saying many Americans show up to work very sick regardless of how far along Omicron is now spreading. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. If you're from any other country and you're like, why the heck are Americans like that? Strap yourselves right on in. In today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about the differences between US and UK culture in regards to leaving work and work benefits. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Evan Edinger, and this is kind of what I do. I'm British American. I like making videos about these interesting differences. And well, recently, last week, I made a video about how I got my first job in the UK, and a lot of you wanted to know more about those interesting differences between working for a US company in the US versus a UK company in the UK. And also a little bit of intermingling. So that's where this video came from. Now, I wasn't joking in the intro. No matter how sick I was, when I was working at a Pizza Hut, a food service restaurant, I was expected to show up to work or find a replacement, which is something that most people in the UK, when I told them this, said, well, isn't that what the hiring manager is supposed to do? Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. He should be the one kind of balancing. Why is it down to the individual employee? Well, it's because when you're sick in the US, that is actually your fault. You're guilty of this, and you need to pay the company back by doing another job and finding someone else to replace. That's just the culture. Whereas because I was brought up like this, my first couple jobs in the UK, I showed up incredibly ill during days in which I was sick and was told to go home.
Right. So yeah. So over here, like I mean, obviously everything he's going to say in this video is factually correct because this is a well documented video. You know, Evan Edinger is a prolific YouTuber, so I'm not going to disagree with anything he says. But you'll get to see my reaction to what's coming out of his mouth because, like, yeah, like when I was a retail manager, I'll do that a lot. When I was a retail manager, because I used to be, when I was a manager, it was a case of if you wanted to change the hours last minute, you could. It was that case. You could do so, but you're the one that had to find the replacement. That's different to a legal requirement such as being sick or like being physically incapable of coming in. Like I used to work with a lot of younger people, and they used to be like the 18-year-olds would be. You could tell when they wanted to go on a night out for somebody's birthday or something, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's fine. Just arrange the shift swap with somebody else on your team, and I'll go with it." Because I was quite a lenient manager like that. But when it comes to sickness, absolutely, if somebody calls in sick, as frustrating as it is, it's the hiring manager, which in my case would be me because I'd be the manager of the smaller shop. It'd be my duty to find cover, you know. So yeah, that's weird. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Which blew my mind. What do you mean? What? I already showed up. I'm coughing all over the place, but I got work to do, right? No, I was sent home and I could get healthy. What? But one of the most interesting aspects of this whole thing was that I was paid for when I was sick, which was the first time I'd ever experienced that. And most Americans will tend to agree. What happens is when you are ill and you have to ask the boss for the day off because you were sick, a lot of times that comes out of holiday pay. Holiday. You see, most UK companies have something in place for this, in the inevitable likelihood that an employee is sick. If you do get sick for longer than 3 days, the government actually can step in and ensure you get a little bit under £100 per week, plus whatever your employer agrees to give you until you get better, which is a nice little thing to fall upon. Now, in the sad circumstance you are sick for a very long time, you can go to get a doctor's note, but as we have nationalized healthcare, that doesn't cost anything. On the other hand, in the US, the land of the free, there is no federally mandated sick pay. So regardless of if you're sick for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, you are unpaid for the most part, which isn't really
Wow.
the best situation. And especially
Wow.
if you're someone that is living paycheck to paycheck, which as of...
Hang on. Sorry, I've interrupted mid-sentence there, but so you're expected to pay for your own healthcare, but you don't get sick pay to compensate for the fact that you've got to pay for your own healthcare. That makes no sense. That literally, if it was the other way around, it would make sense. In the UK, if it was like, right, you've got free healthcare in the UK, but on the flip side of that, we're not going to pay you for being sick to encourage you to come into work. As unethical as that may sound, it makes more logical sense. You don't need to compensate as much for. I mean, you still need to compensate, of course, because you need to pay your bills, but you don't need to. That's so backwards. That is so backwards. It's just it doesn't make any sense. So if in America, if you're sick, you have to pay. You have to pay for healthcare. I get that, but you also don't get any compensatory payment for being sick. Wow, to fund the health.
March 2022 is 64% of Americans, nearly 2 out of every 3 Americans is living paycheck to paycheck. I don't really think you can blame someone for going to work when they're ill if financially they're just playing the cards that they've been dealt as best as they can. Also, given the fact that a lot of American employers demand a doctor's note if you are ill for more than 1 or 2 days, which is then an entire extra day you need to take off to go to your doctor. And if you don't have great insurance, for instance, when I was working at different retail restaurants and things, well, that's $75 a session. So now I've lost essentially a day or two's wages, plus I'm freaking ill still, and I have to heal. It's just not a good situation. And the thing about this issue is, it's really not political in the slightest. In fact, 94% of self-identified liberals and 81% of self-identified conservatives agree that paid sick days should be a basic human worker right. But then, if such a huge grouping of these two sides that usually war all the time finally agree on it, why do we not have any change? Well, there's an even bigger percentage of corporations and employers that really don't give a shit about what you think, and well, they have a lot of money and they'd like to keep it that way. And so they've successfully lobbied to ensure that no change has happened. Does that sound familiar to any other part of the US law? Almost.
And the UK, to be fair. This is probably not the time or place to disclose this, but I have my suspicions about when I got made redundant from a big company. I have my suspicions that there was insider information and they told us, and that they pushed forward their redundancy scheme so they didn't have to pay furlough. So it happens in the UK as well, insider information and all that. But that's just a suspicion on my part that I put 2 and 2 together there. That's for legal reasons. That's not actually what happened. I just have to assume that. Yeah, it's all big money, innit? Problem is, you're a slave to the system while you're working for the system. This is why I think self-employment is such a vital thing, and I think we should. This is why I'm very much an advocate for self-employment and working for yourself. We almost should go back to that culture of like the traditional. If you think way back when it was a case of I worked for myself, I traded the goods and services that I have, for what you have. Like I've got a cow. I bring this cow to the market. I need some rice. Here's this cow. Give me the rice. That kind of thing. That kind of like, or like here's a sheep. Here's a goat. Here's some milk. Give me some potatoes. That kind of thing. That's how it should be. only in a modern day world. You know, I'm a writer. You need an article writing for your website. I'll write an article for your website. I can't draw. I need thumbnails for YouTube. I haven't got any. I'll do some thumbnails for you in exchange. Skill swapping. Skill swapping. That's how it should be. We should be working for ourselves and nobody else. There are exceptions to the rule, of course. Medical professionals, emergency services, that sort of thing. You know, there will be cases when you have to work as a team collaboratively and you're not working for yourself. But yeah, okay, I don't get sick pay because I work for myself, but at least I've got control over my own hours.
All of it, actually. Yes, it's sad. And sadly, as is the case in most of these things, the people with the largest amount of money have the largest voice in US politics, and so can shout down the massive majority of people who just want this basic right, so that they can have more money, which is, of course, the American dream. Now, given that this is the sad state of affairs, most Americans have found a loophole on how to have paid sick leave. And sadly, you probably know where this is going. Well, it comes out of their holiday pay. One of the reasons why Americans don't travel or go on holiday as much as anyone else in Western civilization, well, they use them for sick days. Now, regardless of whether or not you get paid time off during your next trip abroad or to the local shops, today's video sponsor, Revolut, can actually help you with that. Revolut is a global financial super
Generic
app used
sponsorship.
by 18 million plus people around
Yes.
holiday pay. Now, most people realize
channel
that
isn't
Americans
sponsored.
don't travel as much as many of their European counterparts. And a lot of Americans will say, well, it's because the country is so big and there's not many places to visit outside of like Mexico and Canada. But usually as soon as somebody makes this argument, Australia enters the chat. But it has more to do with the fact that there are no federal protections for holiday pay in the States at all. I don't know how many times I've told this story on this channel, but I'll tell it again. I worked 5 years at a Pizza Hut working 30 hours a week, and I earned 0 days paid holiday, whereas I worked under 20 hours in London and managed to get 2 days a month. I was blown away with how I was able to earn anything, considering that I'd worked
0 holiday pay. What like holiday pay isn't just about going on holiday. It's about having. It's again, it kind of ties in with sick pay. It's mental health. It's having time off to spend with your family, to spend with your kids, to spend with your loved ones, and do the things that you want to do in life. It shouldn't be. What is this? Like I get it. I get it. It's capitalism. But what is this? What is going on? What is going on?
5 years and hadn't even gotten a single raise from my $2.13 an hour they were paying me. Somehow, legally, they didn't have to. How was that legal, though? Well, federally, there aren't any laws about holiday pay. The government thought it'd be better to just leave that up to the employers. And as we all know, employers always have the best intentions. They don't. Now, my state decided to have it so that once you work over a certain amount of time, in my case 30 hours, you are entitled to some paid holiday. However, they made it a step function, meaning you have to cross over that threshold of 30. There isn't a gradual increase like, say, the way we pay taxes. And so that's just going to allow capitalistic companies to be capitalistic companies. To ensure I never was allowed to work over 33 hours a week, just so they could make sure I averaged out under that and they would never ever have to pay me a single day of paid holiday. That's just what companies are going to do if you let them do that. That's the point of government, to step in and give people the basic rights that they're entitled. I had a friend that worked at Google in the UK and got 30 days of paid holiday, moved to the US, and lost half of them. Because, well, 15 days, that's quite a lot in the US. Well, in the UK, we are mandated to have at least 28 days of paid holiday. That's 5.6 weeks of paid holiday, including bank holidays. If an employer wants to, they can give you more than that or less, but that's just how it is. Though, to be fair, the US Department of Labor has said that 76% of private sector employees got paid holiday, and the average of that was 10. Well, as there's no
10 days is ridiculous. Like if you think in the UK, we have bank holidays. They're like, if you're not familiar with bank holidays, they're festivals, like a bit like festival holidays. It's just a day off. It comes traditionally from when the banks used to close. But so we have about 8 or 9 of those a year. But even then, I used to work bank holidays. I used to work on Mondays in retail because not everything shuts down. But then my holidays were compensated elsewhere, so I would still get the 5.6 weeks. I just wouldn't get the bank holiday Mondays off. In fact, as we record this video, I'm recording this video on a bank holiday Monday, just by coincidence. So, but that's irrelevant to me because I don't work in retail anymore. But this is, I don't get it. America's so backwards. I'm sorry, but this is, it's upsetting. It's angering me. It's making me angry. Maybe we take things for granted in the UK. We haven't got it easy as such, but maybe we do. Maybe we are a bit too in our own world to realise that even in the Western world, even in the first world. Like, I'm not just talking about. I'm probably more aware and more conscious of the differences in developing countries. Like, especially like I've got a lot of viewers in India and Pakistan. Like, your cost of living is, but also your income, your sort of overall wealth and GDP is much, much, much lower than it is in the UK. And we're very privileged. We have access to things that you might not be able to have access to in India. But for this kind of thing, for the lack of holiday, the lack of rights to be coming out of a first world country is a joke.
Federal law, employers don't have to, and so they won't unless they're forced to, which is why it's good that in certain states, they actually have. In states like Vermont, for every 52 hours you work, you get 1 hour of paid holiday. And for those of you that enjoy math, that means that working 40 hours a week in the state of Vermont, every single week, at the end of the year, you earn 5 days of paid holiday. 40 hours. That's horrible. And of those 5 days, if we know that the average American is sick 3.9 days of the year and they don't get paid sick days, well, of those 5 days in Vermont, you've got one left if you've got an average amount of sickness. Congratulations, where are you gonna go? Dorney Park? It's a bit far. And all of these things together really show how the culture is in terms of when you ask your boss for a day off in the US and they act as if, even though you're fully entitled to it, you're hurting them and you are doing them a disservice to take the holiday that you're legally allowed to have in certain states. It's just such a weird contrast to countries like Germany, in which their employers force them to go on holiday because they understand that a well-rested employee is going to be a better one, make better decisions, and be happier in general. I mean, the
One thing I will say on that, I don't know if he's going to say this, but one thing I will say on that is that culture does exist in the UK as well, that guilt trip culture. I, by my own admission, probably at some point was guilty of that, but it's probably due to the pressures coming from my bosses and my regional managers. In that on the one hand there was a pressure to make people take holiday because otherwise they end up stacking it up to the end of the year, and then it becomes a chaos trying to do a rota when you've got everybody who's due holiday. On the flip side of it, there was an element of, well, we need this member of staff now, and you did almost feel sometimes like you were guilt tripping them into not taking the holiday at that time of the year, whatever it was, because you needed that member of staff at that time. So even though it's not directly the same, that is something that does psychologically cross over into the UK workplace, and as I imagine many workplaces, doesn't make it right. It's just a byproduct of the stress coming from the big people at the top.
UK isn't the greatest thing, but I'm thankful that we do have those 28 days of paid holidays so that people can take off, people can enjoy their lives and not just work every single day of their lives. Now, as a quick asterisk here, there are some companies in the US and the UK that both employ this new magical thing called unlimited time off. Unlimited paid holiday. It sounds like a dream. I was offered a job like this once, and that was the first thing I had a question about. I went, how does that work? Unlimited time off? I can just take off? And he was like, yeah, you have unlimited as opposed to like 28 days or 29. You have unlimited. So I said, so I'm just gonna get hired and then just start going on holiday. And he went, well, you do have to make sure that you work enough, like you feel like you've gotten enough done. And I was like, well, that's not unlimited then, now is it? Now, truth be told, I did go on holiday way more than any other employee, but I was a rare case. In fact, the whole concept of unlimited paid holiday, it is found, means that people take off less because they don't realize how much they have. If you have 28 days and you've spent 14, by the end of the year, sometimes you want to just make sure you spend those final days.
That's exactly what I've just said. People stacking up their holidays to the end because they want to work. This especially works in commission-based jobs in sales. So I was a phone salesman, and you found that I was in the biggest shop in the country. I was the assistant manager in the biggest shop in the country, managing a team of 30 phone salesmen. And you because the commission was so good, I mean, I say it was so good. The people who were there 10 years before me will tell you that it was nowhere near as good as it used to be. But in the concept of retail in today's environment, it paid really well. And people were like, I want to work Black Friday. I want to work, commission was ridiculous. Like, so this kind of thing, that's where it comes under. If you regulate something, if you force restrictions, as I said, this correlates to so many things in life. If you put those restrictions on people, they will do it more. Get rid of that restriction and they will do it less. I'll give you another example. My daughter is glued to a tablet. So both my kids are just we're in the process of we're in the pathways of getting diagnosis for autism, ADHD. We believe ARFID is one, an eating disorder. So there's a few different things with my kids that we are in the process of getting diagnosis for with dietitians, doctors, and the rest of it. And one of the things with my daughter in particular is that she uses her tablet as an escape. She plays games on a tablet, and my son doesn't. He's not as bothered actually. He doesn't really. He's sort of quite happy going off and doing his own thing. But in the case of my daughter, we found that when we said to her, right, you can only have an hour a day on your tablet, or you can't have your tablet at this time, and this, that, and the other, she did it more. She wanted to do it more because she wasn't allowed to do it. You let them say, do you know what? You can do it however much you want. You can right like this unlimited paid time off. You offer that there. You say, look, this is the thing. People are going to do it less because they're happier. If you're happier, you do the thing less. My daughter's on her tablet less than when before. She doesn't use it as much. Her watch time dropped. Excuse me, because she didn't have that restriction. Um, I know for a fact when I was younger, I I was my parent. I had a very liberal upbringing. My parents were very good to me, to be fair, but there were certain things that I wasn't allowed to have or do. And then obviously, the moment you get to do them all the time. Like the moment you're like all of a sudden, oh wow, this is a thing that I could do. Um, you do it. That's how humans work. So giving people unlimited paid time off on the condition that they do their job is in my opinion, a perfectly reasonable expectation. And it comes down to trust and freedom, and that's just human condition. It makes so much sense, but people won't do it. They'll never do it. Well, obviously some people are, but he's got a very valid point here.
If it's unlimited, you don't actually have an end limit, and so most people will spend less. So there it is, companies giving you something that looks like it's beautiful. It is a Trojan horse. It's actually so you take off less. Classic capitalism. Now obviously sometimes people die. Wow, we're getting real dark. Bereavement leave is something that you would really expect at the end of the day for both countries to have, but they don't. The UK does have a law, however, if you do lose a dependent, which I'm thankful does include things like housemate, which the US's does not, but if you do lose a dependent in the UK, the law states you're to be given a reasonable amount of time off to grieve. Reasonable.
3 days
That's
normally.
The law. You must be reasonable. And it's odd that this type of thing just works in the UK. In the law, it says, be reasonable. In the US, that's not, I don't think that would ever work. As much as I don't really feel protected by a clause saying it has to be reasonable, in the UK, they do kind of follow through with that most of the time. In the US, though, the only thing we really have is the Family and Medical Leave Act, which allows for 12 weeks of leave-protected unpaid leave, which is good. You can come back to your job at the end of it, and ta-da, you've still got it. However, there's so many asterisks revolving around this FMLA, or My Life America Act. There's a big chance it doesn't even apply to you to get this unpaid leave, and you're going to have to work regardless of what you're going through. Do you work for a company with fewer than 50 people? Well, congratulations. You do not qualify. You have to keep working through your grief. Did one of your loved ones wait to pass away until after you got your new job? You're also not entitled to any leave-protected unpaid leave. Nope, you've got to come to work grieving because you have to stay at the same company for at least a year before that can happen, which is a reason why I'm assuming most people are afraid to leave jobs, because that transitionary period, there are so many benefits the government is no longer giving you. So if you work for...
There's an element of that in the UK in the sense of if you... Again, he might come to this in a minute with redundancy, so I won't go into it too much. But it's 2 years in the UK. You've got very little rights if you're unfairly dismissed in the UK within 2 years of working for a company. So there's a similar thing. If you've been with the company more than 2 years, it's a lot more scary to leave a company than it is to or to challenge a company on something you feel is unjust than if you you feel more scared to challenge them if it's less than 2 years. You feel more scared to leave them yourself if it's more than 2 years, because you lose those rights as an employee who's been there longer than 2 years. I guess it's kind of what I'm getting at with that, I think. But this is just shocking. I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked with this. I'm disgusted, to be honest, with the system. The American systems are just. I mean, Let me know in the comments at the end of this video if there are any positives from the American side that he's missed out that the UK don't have, but I can't see any so far.
For a company with fewer than 50 people, or you've recently switched jobs, the FMLA just does not apply to you. And in fact, on the official website for the FMLA, it states, if you know ahead of time that you'll be taking leave for a new child or a planned medical treatment for yourself or a family member, you are required to give your employer 30 days advance notice. In the case of planned medical treatment, you must try to schedule the medical treatment when it will not unduly disrupt your employer's business. So, next time you plan on being sick or plan on having someone die or birthed or anything else, make sure it does not inconvenience your employer. That is in the US law. And so the difference here being...
Wow, I'm trying so hard not to swear right now. What is going on? What is this? What am I watching? What?
In the UK, employers are asked to give a reasonable time off to their employees when they're going through grief, and in the US, employees are asked to give their employer reasonable time off when the employee is going through grief. It's just a country for the haves, not the have-nots. The employees have so little protection, you have to ask for permission for one of your relatives to die. What the f? And the last of the big leaves we're going to be talking about today, the big one, the elephant in the room. No offense to your mother, but maternity leave and paternity leave. What was that segue? We've all seen the map before. The fact that the US has 0 days of paid maternity leave is
look at that map.
disgusting.
Look at that. I don't know if you're watching on a mobile, you may not be able to see this map, but the bits in red, if you are on a mobile, the bits in red are where you get 0 holiday leave. You get more, sorry, not holiday leave, paid maternity leave. There's 6 countries, including the US, that don't get it. I mean, it looks like what, US? Is that Indonesia or Papua New Guinea? A couple of African countries on the coast. There's a couple of countries unknown. Is that Turkey that's unknown, maybe? I'm not sure. Wow. That says it all, doesn't it? That map says it all. Even like the poorest countries in the world get more, I mean, life is harder there, but you get more maternity leave to look after your children.
Protected at all is disgusting. In the UK, employees can take up to 52 weeks of maternity leave and their jobs are protected for when they come back. And of those 52 weeks, the first 6 are paid at 90% of their salary. The next 33 are paid at 90% or £156.66, whichever is smaller, and then the next weeks are actually unpaid. But of that period, you still have your job protected, you still have some money coming in, and you can take care of your child during the moments in which it needs you most. Now, when it comes to paternity leave, the UK definitely falls flat here, only providing fathers with 1 to 2 weeks of paid paternity leave, and of that, it's that £156.66 or 90% of your salary, whichever is smaller. But it is 2 weeks that you're allowed to take off, and you also get 2 prenatal appointments before the birth of your child, so if you need to take off to check on how the baby's doing in the mama's belly, you can do that. Now, when it comes to the US, do you remember that family and medical leave?
He might mention this in a minute, but I'm just going to interject by saying that you can share the paternity and the paternity now. I don't know when this video was made. Is it recent one? Okay, this is last month. Okay, unless they changed it again, I'm pretty sure that you can. I'm pretty sure that you can now. Well, certainly when I had my kids, I could at the end of the pregnancy, like so. Say for example, it was 12. He said there about 12 months, and you've got 3 months of it is unpaid. I could take up to 6. We could do 50-50. So you can't have both parents off at the same time necessarily in this case, but it was be like, say for example, from 0 to 6 months, the mother can have it off, and maybe from 6 to 12, the father can have it off. So say for example, if the mother's got a job that she's to come back to, maybe teaching or something, and then the father can have the 6 months off for the second half, that kind of thing. I'm sure it was shared maternity paternity. That's eluded me a little bit. Drop some comments if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's also a thing that you can do in the UK from memory.
Leave Act we were talking about earlier, that's the only thing the US has in place for expectant mothers. unpaid leave. This means as soon as employees are finished going into labor, they need to go back into the labor force because there's no other way of affording to take care of that child. There's nothing there to protect them. And with just how expensive US hospital bills can be when it comes to having a child there, it's no surprise how many reports are coming out of mothers going back to work within a couple days after just having a child in America. So wrapping this up, sick pay, holiday pay, bereavement pay, and maternity leave are basic workers' rights that people in the UK and around the world get to enjoy, whereas people in the US just don't.
What I would be interested to see as well, actually, is with the cost of, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here in the UK, the cost of living is going up astronomically. You know, we've hit our highest inflation since 1706, and we're also getting, I think it's 18%. The electricity bills have gone up. To give you some context, I pay 23 pence per kilowatt on my electricity now. That's gone up to, the current price is about 80. So it's gone up 4 times in the last 12 months. It's going up another 50% on top of that in January. So we're going to look at about at least maybe £1 per kilowatt hour. Bearing in mind I'm paying 23 pence right now, and that was fixed in October last year. So it's astronomical. So there will be mothers, newborns now, their mums will be going back to work sooner, I imagine, because of the cost of living, purely because the statutory sick pay won't be covering the 90% is great, but after that they'll be going back to work sooner. My mum, I mean, this is 30 years ago, but my mum and dad went back. My mum went back at 3 months. When I was born, it was 3 months back then. So yeah, I'm just amazed. I'm gobsmacked. I don't understand why it frustrates me that that a first world country is backwards.
The only way an American worker can hope to get any of these basic workers' rights is if by chance their employer just happens to, out of the goodness of their heart, provide it, which doesn't happen very likely, which is why it's good to see that there's a large resurgence in the States of workers' unions coming back into fashion. Starbucks, Amazon, Apple, everyone is fed up with the fact that they're not given the rights, the government isn't protecting them, and so people are demanding they protect themselves, forming unions and demanding the rights they deserve. How long did we have to put up with people clapping their hands for essential workers? And now that COVID is, for the most part, cut and dried, we're seeing people go, oh, well, you're not that essential, no pay raise for you. What do you want to get paid more than $15 to flip a burger? Well, considering the cost of living has gone up, yes. I think they do. It is really horrible that at the end of the day in the US, we have to fight for those basic freedoms at the bottom, but that's the case when people with a lot of money don't want things to change, and I don't think they do. Genuine question, do you think within our lifetime you will see the US government step in and provide these basic rights that every other country's citizens have had for many years? I'd like to be hopeful and say yes, but the way that most American politics is run by money, it's looking very doubtful. But regardless of your stance on these different types of leave me a comment. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Or if you'd like, you can watch another research video over here on my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a nice day.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting video. I'm gobsmacked. I'm absolutely speechless. Yeah, it's been quite a long video, this one, but drop me some comments. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know what it's like in your country where you are, all over the world. If people like this kind of video, I'll do more of them. I just picked this one out because it was the first thing I saw on my For You page. For You page, it's not TikTok, is it? On my watch page, recommended. That's been an eye-opener. I didn't know it was as bad as that. Like I say, I knew it was bad with the holiday pay, but the bereavement pay is a joke. And the maternity pay. Like I say, I know our paternity pay is not great, but the maternity pay specifically was just the fact that there's only 6 countries in the world that don't offer maternity pay. Disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. How can some of the poorest countries in the world offer some form of maternity protection, and then the richest country in the world doesn't? It's a joke. Anyway, if you like this kind of thing, don't forget to press like, subscribe, notification bell. Drop me some comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want me to react to next. Thank you so much for watching Divergent Reactions. I'll see you next time.